The Christmas tree in my sister Victoria's mansion sparkled with expensive ornaments, each one probably worth more than what they thought was my monthly salary. The entire Peterson family had gathered for their annual display of wealth and thinly veiled condescension. "And here's your gift, Emma," Victoria announced with a smirk, handing me a small envelope. "We all pitched in knowing your financial situation." I already knew what was inside. I'd seen them snickering while wrapping it at the country club last week. Not that they knew I owned the club now, along with half the private airports in the state. The name EP Holdings on the deed didn't ring any bells for them. Opening the envelope, I pulled out exactly what I expected. A yearly bus pass complete with a helpful schedule of routes that went past discount stores. "Since you still can't afford a car," my brother Marcus chimed in, jangling his Ferrari keys. "Though really, Emma, at 35, shouldn't you have progressed beyond entry-level work?" If they only knew that my entry-level position at Aviation Dynamics was actually a cover for my ownership of the largest private aviation company in North America. The same company that managed their precious private jet rentals. "Thank you," I said quietly, tucking the bus pass into my simple handbag, a custom Hermes piece that cost more than Marcus's Ferrari, not that they'd recognize the understated luxury. "This is thoughtful. We worry about you," my mother sighed, adjusting her showy diamonds. "All your siblings are so successful. Victoria's interior design firm, Marcus's investment company, and Charlotte's luxury car dealership." She glanced at my youngest sister, who was showing off her latest Mercedes acquisition photos. Little did they know that Victoria's firm was renting office space from one of my buildings. Marcus's company managed a fraction of my aviation empire's funds, and Charlotte's dealership relied on financing from my banking subsidiary. Speaking of success, Charlotte perked up. "We're all flying to Aspen tonight on the most amazing private jet. Through some exclusive new aviation company." She pulled up photos on her phone. "Look at the interior, it's like nothing you'll ever experience, Emma." I bit back a smile, recognizing the custom interior I'd personally designed for our flagship aircraft. The one with my initials subtly embedded in the woodwork. "What time is the flight?" I asked innocently, checking my phone. My pilot had already sent the final manifest for their booking. 8 p.m., Marcus boasted. "Though we should head to the airport early to enjoy the premium lounge." "Not that you'd know anything about that, bus pass girl." My phone buzzed with an alert from my head of operations. "Ms. Peterson, final checks complete on Jet EP1 for the Peterson family flight. Shall we reveal your ownership during pre-flight?" "I might head out too," I said, standing up. "Work calls, you know how it is." "Well, maybe you don't with your flexible executive schedules." Victoria laughed, the sound dripping with superiority. "Right, your little desk job. Don't worry, we'll send photos from Aspen. You can live vicariously through us." If they only knew, they'd be living vicariously through me in about 2 hours. "Thanks again for the bus pass," I smiled, heading for the door. "Have a safe flight." On my way out, I texted my pilot, "Let's make this interesting. Have them wait in the main terminal first. I'll be in my private hangar." The real Christmas gift would be watching their faces when they realized who really owned their aspirational lifestyle. 2 hours later, I sat in my private hangar's luxury lounge, watching the security feeds with barely contained amusement. My siblings had just arrived at the airport, making quite a show of their exclusive access to private aviation. "They're demanding to see the owner," my assistant Sarah messaged. "Apparently, the main terminal waiting area isn't prestigious enough for the Peterson family." I smiled, adjusting my outfit. I'd changed from my deliberately modest Christmas attire into something more befitting the owner of Aviation Dynamics. "Let them wait 10 more minutes. Then bring them to Hangar EP1. The security feed showed Victoria pacing in her Louboutins, Marcus mansplaining private aviation to an unimpressed staff member, who actually held 3 aerospace engineering degrees, and Charlotte photographing herself in front of various aircraft through the window. "Do you know who we are?" Victoria's voice carried through Sarah's live audio feed. "The Petersons are one of the most important families in the city." "Of course, madam," Sarah replied professionally. "The owner is aware of your status." My mother, trying to smooth things over with her usual social manipulation, stepped forward. "Perhaps we could speak with someone more senior? We're personal friends with many aircraft owners. The owner will be meeting you shortly," Sarah assured them. In fact, we're to escort you to the private hangar now. The camera followed their smoke procession across the tarmac. They preened and posed, assuming this special treatment was due to their perceived importance rather than my explicit instructions. This is more like it, Marcus declared, straightening his designer tie. Though I don't recall hearing about an EP Holdings before. Charlotte squinted at the hangar's subtle branding. Wasn't that something Emma mentioned once? When she was trying to explain her boring job. Please, Victoria scoffed. Emma can barely afford bus fare. She's probably filing papers somewhere in their basement office. The hangar doors slowly opened, revealing my flagship jet, a custom Gulfstream G650R with their night's flight plan already programmed. The aircraft's tail bore my company's logo and, more importantly, my initials. Welcome to Aviation Dynamics, Sarah announced, leading them inside. The owner will see you in the private lounge. They walked into my executive lounge, still oblivious to what was coming. The space oozed subtle wealth, the kind of luxury that whispered rather than shouted, completely lost on their nouveau riche sensibilities. The owner must be some tech billionaire, Charlotte mused, snapping photos. Emma would die if she could see this. I pressed the button to open the hidden door connecting my private office to the lounge. Actually, I said, stepping into view, Emma can see it quite well from here. The looks on their faces were better than any Christmas gift they could have given me. The transformation of my siblings' demeanor over the following weeks was nothing short of spectacular. Every time they attempted to reassert their imagined superiority, reality knocked them back down. Victoria tried first, showing up at my corporate office unannounced. Emma, darling, she'd purred, clutching her designer bag like a shield. About my design firm's lease in your building. The one where you've been late on payments for 3 months? I interrupted, not looking up from my tablet displaying her company's dismal financials. Interesting how you found money for a new Bentley but not for rent. I can explain, she stammered. No need, I smiled, finally meeting her eyes. Your new office is ready, in the building's basement, next to the maintenance supplies. The rent's much more affordable there. Marcus attempted damage control through business channels, trying to leverage his investment company's reputation. We should discuss synergies, he suggested during a forced lunch meeting. My firm could manage your aviation portfolio. Like you've managed your clients' funds? I pulled up his company's audit reports. These hidden fees are quite creative, Marcus. The SEC might find them interesting. He left lunch early, his appetite suddenly gone. Charlotte's luxury car dealership was next. About the financing subsidiary that backs our sales. She began during a family dinner. Is now requiring full documentation and actual credit checks, I finished. No more special arrangements for your social circle. My mother, ever the social strategist, tried a different approach. She hosted a reconciliation dinner at her country club, not realizing I'd recently acquired it through one of my holding companies. We need to present a united front, she insisted. Family image is everything. Is it? I asked, signaling the maitre d'. Like when you all gave me a bus pass at Christmas? The maitre d' appeared with a tray of envelopes, copies of their recently revoked club memberships. The new owner, I explained, is very particular about members who misrepresent their financial status. Like claiming to own properties they merely lease, or bragging about investment portfolios that exist mainly on paper. The silence over dessert was delicious. But the real turning point came when their private banking details were due for annual review. Each sibling received a letter from their bank, another quiet acquisition of mine, requesting verification of their assets. This is harassment. Victoria had exploded during a family meeting they'd called to address their Emma situation. No, I corrected her, this is due diligence. Something you should have thought about before leveraging yourselves to maintain appearances. I laid out their options. They could either accept their new reality, living within their actual means, working for their success rather than pretending to it, or face the consequences of their years of financial manipulation. You can't do this, Marcus protested. We're family. Family. I raised an eyebrow. Like when you excluded me from family photos because my career choices embarrassed you. Or when you spread rumors about my financial troubles at charity events. I stood, smoothing my bespoke suit. You have until the end of the month to decide. Either way, the private jet privileges are, of course, revoked. I hear the bus service to the airport is quite reliable. As I left them sitting in their borrowed luxury, surrounded by the trappings of wealth they'd never truly earned, I pulled out the bus pass they'd given me at Christmas. I'd had it framed. It now hung in my private hangar as a reminder that true success doesn't need to show off. It simply needs to show up at the right moment. And sometimes, that moment comes with a first-class lesson in humility, delivered at 40,000 feet. The aftermath of my family's financial reality check played out exactly as I'd expected. Within days, the carefully constructed facade of their success began crumbling. Victoria's design firm clients, learning that she'd been inflating her project costs to maintain her lifestyle, started canceling contracts. Marcus's investment firm faced an exodus of wealthy clients after word spread about his creative accounting. Charlotte's dealership struggled as the new financing requirements revealed just how many sales had been based on questionable credit arrangements. My mother, ever the social navigator, made one last attempt at damage control during a charity gala, not realizing I was now the primary donor. "Ladies," she'd announced to her social circle, "Emma has been so blessed by our family's guidance. We always knew she had potential." "Actually, Mrs. Peterson," the charity's director interrupted, "we were hoping to speak with your daughter about her recent $100 million endowment. She's being honored tonight." The look on my mother's face as I took the stage, introduced as one of the city's most influential business leaders, was worth every condescending Christmas gift they'd ever given me. But the true satisfaction came during the emergency family meeting they called at their favorite restaurant, or rather my restaurant, another quiet acquisition they'd never bothered to investigate. "We need to discuss our family's future," my mother began, trying to maintain her composure as the maitre d' led us to the owner's private dining room. "You mean your financial future," I corrected her, nodding to my assistant who distributed detailed folders to each family member. "These are your current net worth statements. Real numbers, not the ones you've been presenting to society." Victoria's hands shook as she opened her folder. "This can't be right. My design firm has been operating at a loss for 3 years, I finished. "Those luxury client payments you bragged about? Most were actually loans you took out using inflated project estimates." Marcus barely looked at his numbers. He already knew. The investment losses were hidden under layers of shell companies, I nodded. "Until my banking division's audit team found them." Charlotte just stared at her paper, mascara starting to run. "The dealership is worth about 1/10 of what you've been claiming at charity auctions," I confirmed. "Those creative financing deals are coming due." My mother, ever practical, set her folder aside. "What do you want, Emma? Money? Position? Recognition?" "I want what I've already achieved," I replied. "Success based on actual work, not appearances. The question is, what are you willing to do to save yourselves from your own facades?" I pulled out another set of folders, their potential salvation. "Each of you has 2 options. 1. Accept positions in my companies starting at entry level with salaries based on actual performance. Or 2. Face the consequences of your financial manipulations publicly." "Entry level?" Victoria looked horrified. "Like, assistants?" "Like where I started," I corrected her. "Learning business from the ground up, not the country club down." "This is ridiculous," Marcus protested. "We have reputations. You have illusions," I cut him off. "And they're about to cost you everything unless you accept reality." My phone buzzed, a notification that their private jet memberships had officially been revoked. The same jet they'd mocked me for not being able to afford was now permanently out of their reach. "You have 24 hours to decide," I stood, leaving them with their truth laid bare in black and white. "Oh, and one more thing." I pulled out their Christmas gift to me, that bus pass they'd found so amusing. "You might want to familiarize yourselves with public transportation. Either way, your luxury car leases end next week." The silence I left behind tasted sweeter than any champagne they'd ever flaunted. The next few months transformed both my family and my business empire in ways I hadn't anticipated. Victoria was the first to crack, showing up at my office at 7 a.m. sharp, wearing a sensible suit instead of her usual designer excess. I'll take the entry-level position, she said quietly, her former smugness replaced by something approaching humility. The design firm's final clients canceled yesterday. I assigned her to our aviation interior design team, as an assistant. Her first task? Organizing fabric swatches and creating digital catalogs of materials. The same basic work she'd previously delegated to underpaid interns. Marcus held out longer, until his investment firm's audited statements became public record. He arrived looking notably less polished, his precious Patek Philippe conspicuously absent. The SC interview was enlightening, he admitted, slumping into a chair in my office. About that junior analyst position. He started in our compliance department, learning the regulations he'd spent years creatively avoiding. His new supervisor was one of the analysts he'd previously dismissed as support staff. Charlotte's surrender came after the dealership's financing crisis made the business news. She showed up in a used Toyota, a far cry from her usual luxury vehicles. The bus pass, she said, placing it on my desk. I kept it as a reminder. Is there still a position available? She began in vehicle fleet management for our ground transportation division, learning the actual mechanics of automotive operations rather than just the glamorous sales pitch. My mother's transformation was perhaps the most surprising. Instead of taking a position in the company, she sold most of her designer wardrobe and downsized to a modest condo. I've spent decades managing appearances, she told me over coffee in my private hangar. Maybe it's time I learned to manage reality instead.